This is my presentation on poverty and struggle in schools. When beginning to search for a research topic, I was greatly inspired by two of the stimulus materials, the article on the earthquake in Haiti and the migrant mother image. I recognized that these two sources were connected through the idea of struggle, which I applied to my research. In the article discussing resilience among Haitian earthquake survivors, it described how similar to the right, people's lives were devastated. There was an estimated 250,000 dead and over 300,000 more injured. Entire towns were also destroyed and people lost their families. However, the ideas of resilience and rebuilding seem to be prevalent in the article. Similarly, the migrant mother image was taken during the Great Depression, after a mom was left single with 5 kids while her husband searched for work after escaping the Dust Bowl, which left many unemployed and continuously broke families apart. Thus, these two sources led me to delve into the lives of those enduring struggle. I began to wonder, how do kids with nothing left after, for instance, a natural disaster, or kids whose parents can't afford the necessities, attend school and make themselves successful? The answer to that, a harsh reality. They typically aren't supported and continue the cycle of poverty. Poverty is generally defined as a lack of money to meet basic needs, including food, clothing, and shelter. It is an issue that has been prominent in our society since the beginning of time. The basis to breaking the cycle is education, and as stated by Patricia Cunningham, a professor at Wake Forest University who has a PhD in reading from the University of Georgia, as well as a degree in reading from Florida State University, literacy requires word identification and comprehension, which the majority facing poverty don't have. In addition, according to the Center for American Progress, a nonpartisan policy institute dedicated to improving our country, in America, nearly 11 million children are poor. That's 1 in 7 kids, who make up almost 1/3 of all people living in this country. With the issue applying to that many people, this becomes a significant problem, as the cycle of struggle has proven to not only continue, but also being born into poverty is known to cause children to not reach their full potential, as not only are they typically set behind as far as academics, but they also cannot afford supplies and other things necessary for school. On top of that, there are many other On top of that, there are many other academic things influenced by income. I broke these down into 4 categories: grades, supplies, extracurriculars, and test scores. First off, after extensive research, I determined that a student's grades can be linked to their parents' incomes. This is because students facing poverty likely cannot afford private tutoring that others have. And in addition, according to the National Association of Secondary School Principals, an experienced organization committed to supporting students, many impoverished families lack access to computers, high-speed internet, and other materials that can aid a student outside of school. This depicts how students coming from a poor family may not have access to necessary studying resources, consequentially lowering their grades. In addition, as stated earlier, many impoverished students lack supplies such as pens and pencils. Without these critical things, it is much more difficult to study, which also lowers grades. Moreover, extracurriculars are also influenced by income. If someone wants to play a sport, there are a ton of fees associated with equipment and the school. Even academic clubs have fees as well, which prevents those who can't afford it from joining, even though they may be qualified. Finally, test scores are typically lower for those facing poverty. This can be attributed to the high cost of tutoring, as well as the fees to take tests, including the SAT and ACT, which is currently around $60. This is also depicted on the chart, which shows the direct relationship between income and test scores, with one increasing as the other increases. Tests such as these greatly influence the chances of getting accepted into colleges or potentially earning scholarships, showing the problem poverty creates. Thus, the question emerges, how can high schools in the United States be reformed to support financially challenged students to a larger extent? Throughout my research, I evaluated the effectiveness of implementing a government education bill as opposed to creating a volunteer system. First up is the government education bill. With the implementation of this bill, more funding would be allocated to schools in areas that have the highest amounts of poverty. As opposed to this, schools in extremely wealthy areas would endure tiny cuts on spending, forcing them to possibly find cheaper options than the most cutting edge in new supplies. In addition, teachers' wages in these schools would be increased if they opted to tutor free of charge after school. This would allow poor students to access free help for studying, increasing their grades. Moreover, SAT and ACT prep could be offered alongside this, allowing students to better prepare and ideally do better on standardized tests. Furthermore, athletic and academic funds could be awarded to cover the cost of participating in a school club or sport. This would open the door to opportunities and engagement outside of school. Another solution is the volunteer system. This system would encourage people to complete 6 or more hours of community service a year in exchange for benefits, with an example being tax write-offs. Hours can be earned through monetary donations, donating old school supplies, tutoring on subjects one is knowledgeable about, or even training for athletics. This would initiate support from the community and help students. The solution I propose that I believe to be the most effective is a mixture of both potential solutions, the implementation of a government educational volunteering bill. This bill would allow tax write-offs to those who participate, with these write-offs being accounted for by cutting a tiny bit of money from the most wealthy schools in the state. There would be the suggested 6 service hours as stated earlier, and opportunities to earn them would be through donating money, supplies, or time in forms of tutoring or athletic training. This solution would support students by allowing them to go from being unable to afford school supplies to being able to access these supplies and raise their grades. After this, test scores would continue to increase and students could be qualified candidates for jobs. Because of this, they will be able to get into college with more ease by being more competitive applicants. My solution is largely inspired by the Kids in Need Foundation, which is a well-known organization dedicated to promoting equal opportunity in schools. Within the program, one can get involved by hosting events, donating, volunteering, and building backpacks filled with supplies. This is similar to my plan as it includes the element of volunteering. However, unlike this program, mine would increase engagement and participation because of the benefit. Thus, a new cycle would be born, with increased funding leading to improved academic performance and therefore opportunities expanding beyond simply college. By getting into better colleges and potentially earning scholarships, the students would be able to find jobs outside of school and hopefully initiate a new pattern of success, eliminating poverty in their future and consequently lowering the overall rate of poverty. Some implications of the government educational volunteering bill is that there would be increased success in school as well as social interaction. Since impoverished students would be able to join clubs and sports, they would become more involved with other students and make friends while pursuing their interests and potential career options. According to the U.S. Department of Education, recent research suggests that participation in extracurricular activities may increase students' sense of engagement or attachment to their school, and thereby decrease the likelihood of school failure and dropping out. This depicts a positive impact extracurriculars can have on overall academic performance, showing how important funding for poor students is. Also, after students facing poverty are supported and begin performing better academically, scholarship opportunities may open up, such as Hope Roselle Miller, and this would just allow them to attend college free of cost and overall benefit their future. Some limitations of my solution include the fact that many in extremely wealthy areas may be angered by the small cuts to their schools' budgets. In addition, there may not be enough volunteers despite the benefits, as the wealthy people who are targeted to be those volunteering could possibly not care about the tax write-offs, as they already have more than enough to cover their taxes. This could be limited by offering public praise in things such as newspapers, advertising their good character. Finally, my solution is also limited in the sense that it would not be able to help all poor schools, but rather only the poorest of the poorest. To broaden the area that's supported, once the target schools are stabilized and require less funding, other schools could begin to be helped as well. Poverty continues to be a major issue within the United States. According to our findings, some of the limitations that these students are facing include the social and academic skills needed to survive in society. Hence, my solution, a government educational volunteering bill, would be the most effective and reliable choice. This would guarantee students to develop important life skills and relationships. This overall will keep them out of poverty, allowing them to break the cycle and find success in the future. And then here's my works cited page.
All right, Sophia, how did your research question evolve as you moved through the research process?
Originally, I was thinking of researching more like younger grades, like such as elementary school or early middle school, and this is really because that's when students learn how to read and do like the fundamental skills such as like writing, stuff like that. But then as like the process sort of evolved, I researched the Head Start program, just other things for like preschool to like K levels. But as my research evolved, I became more interested in the high school area, as that's where you truly like develop your character and such as like for jobs, stuff like that. So I was just more interested in high school and how that really affects like getting into poverty, affects getting into college and like your entire future basically. So.
And what additional questions emerged from your research, and why are these questions important?
Some additional questions that emerged from my research would have to be not only like students facing poverty, but also like other challenges. This can include like disabilities such as autism or other educational things that might make your education more challenging. And this is important because with clearly the students facing poverty are struggling. So if you have a disability, that makes school even more difficult for you. You may have the supplies you need, you may have like the money you need to pay for clubs and stuff, but you still can't you're not like functioning normally as like the other students. So that's a big problem. for educational opportunity and equality.
Thank you.